the reality of the consumer on the ground is actually very nuanced. So if I look at it at the base level, the spend is absolutely going up. And if I look at our numbers over the last few years, you can see that there is a steady increase in spend, and consumers are increasingly going away from cash to more and more digital ways of spending. That being said, I think consumers are also aware of what's going on in the world. So a lot of consumers that we've surveyed say that they are more cautious perhaps than before of spending. Up to 50% of them say that they're a bit more cautious of their spend. Now, what does this mean? This actually means one of three things. It means that either the consumer is deciding not to purchase certain goods or service or delay the purchase of certain goods and services, or number two, it means that they might be substituting an expensive good for perhaps one that is more cost efficient. Or it might mean a third thing, which means that they're just going to continue to look for better deals, and they are willing to wait a little until they find those better deals. But overall, even though the consumer is being more cautious, we do see that spends continue to be strong and sustained, and we do see this trend continue. I think there is a difference between consumers being cautious versus the actual spend that's happening. So if I look at our numbers, the spend is very, very strong. Over the last few years, we continue to see very strong double-digit growth in local consumer spend. That has not changed. I think the sentiment reflects how consumers see the future, and they are perhaps becoming a bit more cautious, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So this is probably one of the things that I think has accelerated in the last few years, and I think we will continue to see this trend play out over the next few years. So if you look at it pre-pandemic there was a steady conversion from cash to card, but cash was still the dominant way, the dominant payment method. After the pandemic, or since the pandemic, we saw a significant acceleration in consumers using digital payments, cards, and other tools for making payments. Today, we actually see cash is far less than 50% of consumer payments, exactly. And we don't see this trend stopping anytime soon. We expect this will continue as we go forward. And what's even more interesting is not only is it digital payments, but it's also the type of digital payments. So these are what we call enhanced digital payments. So for example, if we no longer take out our cards and swipe. We actually just grab our phones and tap, or take our cards and tap. In fact, in our part of the world, more than 9 out of 10 face-to-face transactions are tapped, not swiped. So I think not only is the region becoming increasingly digital, it's becoming enhanced digital, and we see this trend continue. So at Visa, we have a fundamental belief that economies that include everyone uplift everyone. And focusing on and promoting female entrepreneurship is extremely top of mind for us. And She's Next is a global initiative that Visa has been undertaking for several years now, that we are incredibly proud of. What She's Next is we work with a lot of women entrepreneurs across the world, and we try and help them take their businesses to the next level. So last year, for the first time, we actually brought She's Next to the region, and we brought it to MENA, and we identified 20 different women entrepreneurs that we are now working with. And the idea is that we will work with them, and we will provide them focused coaching and mentoring for a year. We provided them with some grant money that they could then use and put into their businesses. And we open up our partner networks to them. And we will continue to work with them as we go forward. This was last year. I think what we have planned for this year is going to be even more. I think the one critical thing that I would think about is that the future of payments in retail is complicated. Yet, it needs to be so subtle and seamless that it needs to be invisible to the consumer. So the onus is really upon us to try and create that journey. Because the consumer of tomorrow is going to want to be able to pay using whatever method they want to pay. So that may be a traditional card, a credit card or a debit card, but it equally could be an alternate payment method such as installments or BNPL. It could be crypto, it could be a wallet, it could be open banking, right? It could be so many things. So it is really and truly up to the retailer to bring all those together, but then provide a seamless experience to the consumer so that, if you and I are checking out, we may have completely different preferences on how we do it, but both of our transactions will go through seamlessly and immediately. The one thing that always surprises me about our part of the world is how quickly we adapt to changes in technology. So if I reflect on how quickly the use of mobile wallets or even open banking has taken hold in our part of the world, I'm amazed. I'm amazed. So if I look at Saudi or even if I look at Kuwait, the speed at which consumers have taken up wallets, it's just remarkable. We don't see that level of, or the rate of change or adoption anywhere else in the world. So this is one thing that always surprises me at, how quickly we adapt to new technologies when we want to. The Retail Leaders Circle is an incredibly important event, and we as Visa have been partnering with the RLC for several years. I think this is probably so far the best of the ones that I've seen so far. It is great to be here. It is a good place to just bring all the industry leaders together and to talk about some of the key defining trends that are going on. Because if I really and truly think about it, retail is essential to our economies. Our economies are built on a lot of retail that's integrated into what we do. So I think it's extremely exciting. It's great to be here, and I think this is the best is yet to come.